Intel rolls out third major 0x12B microcode patch to fix 14th and 13th Gen CPU instability issues. Intel has a new update regarding the 14th and 13th Gen instability issues and is rolling out a new microcode patch called 0x12B to address the root cause. Intel's 14th and 13th Gen Shift instability root cause now being addressed by a third major microcode patch called 0x12B. Rolling out now last month, Intel released its 0x129 microcode patch, the second one after the 0x125 patch, to address the 14th and 13th Gen instability issues. Since the new rollout, there have been fewer reports of crashes and problems occurring on the desktop platforms. These patches avoid any potential damage to new chips, as chips that have already been degraded remain the same and need to be downclocked, undervolted to operate as normal. During its ongoing investigation, Intel discovered another issue with Shift and affected CPUs, which can cause the motherboard and BIOS code to request elevated voltages during idle or light activity periods. This could lead to crashes and instability, and it looks like the 0x12B microcode for the 14th and 13th Gen CPUs will address this elevated voltage request while also retaining the 0x125 and 0x129 patch fixes. Intel has localized the Shift instability issue to a clock tree circuit within the IA core, which is particularly vulnerable to reliability aging under elevated voltage and temperature. Intel has observed these conditions can lead to a duty cycle shift of the clocks and observed system instability. Intel has identified four operating scenarios that can lead to Shift and affected processors, motherboard power delivery settings exceeding Intel power guidance. Mitigation: Intel default settings recommendations for Intel Core 13th and 14th Gen desktop processors. Microcode algorithm, which was allowing Intel Core 13th and 14th Gen i9 desktop processors to operate at higher performance states even at high temperatures. Mitigation: Microcode 0x125, June 2024, addresses EDV algorithm issue. Microcode SVID algorithm requesting high voltages at a frequency and duration which can cause Shift. Mitigation: Microcode 0x129, August 2024, addresses high voltages requested by the processor. Microcode and BIOS code requesting elevated core voltages which can cause Shift, especially during periods of idle and or light activity. Mitigation: Intel is releasing microcode 0x12B, which encompasses 0x125 and 0x129 microcode updates, and addresses elevated voltage requests by the processor during idle and or light activity periods. Regarding the 0x12B update, Intel is working with its partners to roll out the relevant BIOS update to the public. Intel's internal testing comparing 0x12B microcode to 0x125 microcode on Intel Core i9-14900K with DDR5 5200 mount/S memory 1, indicates performance impact is within run-to-run variation, Sin benchmark 23, speedometer, WebExpert 4, crossmark. For gaming workloads on Intel Core i9-14900K with DDR5 5600 mount/S memory 2, performance is also within run-to-run variation, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Cyberpunk 2077, Hitman 3, Dartmoor, Total War, Warhammer 3, Mirrors of Madness. However, system performance is dependent on configuration and several other factors. Intel reaffirms that both Intel Core 13th and 14th Gen mobile processors and future client product families, including the codename Lunar Lake and Arrow Lake families, are unaffected by the Shift instability issue. We appreciate our customers' patience throughout the investigation, as well as our partners' support in the analysis and relevant mitigations. For all Intel Core 13th/14th Gen desktop processor users, the 0x12B microcode update must be loaded via BIOS update and has been distributed to system and motherboard manufacturers to incorporate into their BIOS. Intel is working with its partners to encourage timely validation and rollout of the BIOS update for systems currently in service. This process may take several weeks. Via Intel, just like the previous microcode patches, the new 0x12B release will be handed over to system and motherboard partners, which will then roll it out to their customers through new BIOS releases. The new BIOS is expected to take several weeks to complete, though we might see a few motherboard makers roll them out early. Our sources already reported a new BIOS patch to follow the 0x129 microcode, and it looks like they were right, though under a new name and slightly late. Intel also states that the performance difference between the 0x125 and 0x12B microcode patches are within run-to-run variations, and users shouldn't see a noticeable impact on performance in any application or game. The company also reiterated its previous statement that the upcoming Arrow Lake and Lunar Lake CPUs aren't affected by instability issues caused by VMinshift, and that is a sign of relief for users who are planning to upgrade to next-generation platforms.